Assalamu alaikum everyone. So I've been here in Vienna for 3 days now, and wherever I go I always like to seek out, if I can, local converts to Islam, and I'm very pleased to say that I have found one. But not only is he a convert to Islam, which is a fascinating story in of itself, but it so happens that Brother Marco here is a key organizer behind the event, which I've been covering for 5 pillars, the Jewish Anti-Zionism Congress, which is a historic event, which we're going to ask him about as well. So a fascinating story, which I'm very pleased to have found. Marco, assalamu alaikum, thank you so much for speaking to me. Let me ask you, first of all, about the event, given how historic it is, given how important it has been. Just tell me, what made you want to go ahead and organize something like this? How successful has it been, do you think? And what could the implications be of this Congress going forward?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me. First, we started actually because of the Berlin Palestine Congress, which has been raided by the German police in Berlin with, I don't know, over 1,000 policemen. And then in Vienna, we actually thought of, let's challenge our own political system and repeat the same Congress with similar guests. Actually, our key speaker was Ghassan Abu Sitta, the surgeon. He is a key witness to the genocide in Gaza, and we tried to invite him. Unfortunately, he couldn't come at the end, but we organized it all in his favor, actually, and repeat it, and it has been a huge success. One of the guests of the Palestine Congress was Hanin Zouabi, a former Palestinian Knesset member, and she was also a speaker at the Palestine Congress. And then she actually asked our Jewish brothers and sisters in Vienna how it can happen that they let this happen, that they occupy their Jewish identity, that they really misuse this Jewish identity. And she says, why you let this happen? So then take your identity back, and therefore we started this Congress, like Jewish members, brothers and sisters. They then got together, formed this first Viennese Jewish declaration against Zionism. This was the basis, and then we organized the first Jewish anti-Zionist Congress in Vienna.
I must say it's been a very successful event. I've interviewed a number of the intellectuals which have come here, and the message they put out is very, very clear. There are far too many Jewish community members who think highly of Zionism, or they have some kind of identity linked to Israel, despite everything that's been going on. And they want to make absolutely clear this is not a religious war. There are many Jews who are against Zionism, and there are many non-Jews who also support Zionism, unfortunately. So it seems as if this is going to be very, very significant. But what I also want to ask you is about the historic significance, the link that the Zionism has to Austria. Is that the reason why you picked Vienna as the place to host this anti-Zionism Congress?
First of all, of course, we are an active group here in Austria and Vienna, but this was actually one of my key moments, actually, to really make it here had to happen, this Congress. Because 130 years ago, Theodor Herzl here in Vienna, he was studying here in Vienna, and he wrote the book, Der Judenstaat, where he wrote down his vision of a Jewish state. It was not set back then to be in Palestine. It was Uganda first, the New Mexico, Argentina, and other targets, but ended up with Palestine because they could, organize this better in their favor. But yeah, for that reason, we really, and this was also our Jewish brothers and sisters in the UK, also really saw it as a great, great opportunity to have this historic city where all this Zionist crime against humanity actually started. And so this was a really important issue for us. But also, what is really important is that we have got in Austria the so-called Mauthausen Oath. Even if you ask Austrians, even historic teachers in Austria, they will not know it, because it's not taught at school. But actually, the ex-prisoners of Mauthausen formulated a Mauthausen Oath, where they really made an order for the future generations to stand up for justice in the whole world, to liberate the whole world, and to always keep on the fight against imperialism. And that's why the Austrian government, and also even the Mauthausen Memorial Site, does not really publish this main paper of the Mauthausen Oath, which is like the main paper of the whole Matas Memorial site at the end, you know. And so this is also one of our targets, to promote this, and at the end also reclaim anti-fascism how it used to be, and not to be instrumentalized to promote Zionism and genocides. So it has to be reclaimed back to keep on the anti-fascist fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's so admirable about this event and what you guys are doing is the fact that Zionism is obviously the root cause of what's going on, but there are too many people, including in the pro-Palestine movement, at least this is my experience from the UK, that shy away from talking about Zionism. They're worried about being accused of being anti-Semitic or whatever. So I think that this is why now, with the genocide going on, we have to be brave as activists and talk about this issue, because obviously it is a root cause of the problem ultimately. Having said that, I also want to ask you about your journey to Islam story, briefly, if we may. Just tell me what brought you to Islam? Why are you a Muslim?
This is actually quite a long story, but first of all, I always have believed in God. I was raised Christian, but not really religiously. But by that, I mean, also my stepfather is from Jordan, actually.
Okay.
So I was visiting Jordan and Syria in quite a young age, like 12, 13 years, but he was also not really religious, nor anybody taught me anything about Islam. It was all my own approach to Islam. But so in practice, in theory, I think I will have been Muslim all my life already. But at the end, like 3 years ago, I converted. I don't know if there's any key moment, but I think one really also great moment was when I was studying in South Africa, in Cape Town, at the Critical Muslim Studies in Liberation Theology. So the whole concept of liberation theology, also what you see now of many converts in the US, is really fascinating to me. And also, like when I was in Cape Town in this Claremont Main Road Mosque there, it was really fascinating, the concept of the khutbah. And I think this is also one really big reason for me to promote the meaning of the khutbah, because I really, you know, when I go to mosque here in Austria, but I don't know how it's in the UK, but I really love this idea of coming together and talk on issues, what is really going on. I think in Islam, it's really the meaning of a khutbah is to talk on reality, and like to bring the lessons of the Quran and the Prophet, and to bring it into reality and to fulfill it.
Yes.
And not just like if you ask many people, like if they get out of the mosque, 5 seconds later, what has he been talking? The Imam, then many will say, I forgot about it. But I think it's a very important to also turn this back to the real meaning of the khutbah and talk on truth to power. And this is what my Islam is teaching me, actually, to educate yourself, to be a good person, and to fight for justice and liberation on the planet. And this is actually the whole thing what my Islam is all about.
That's fascinating. I mean, I had a similar experience. I converted to Islam when I was very young. I hung out with Muslims at school, so that introduced me to it. But yeah, just the emphasis on moral values, justice, it's a religion of justice, that really inspired me. And it got me into activism, got me into supporting the Palestinian cause eventually. That played a big part in getting me to where I am today. Now, alhamdulillah, I'm a journalist for a Muslim platform, and I get to talk about issues that I'm passionate about, like Palestine. Just tell me, obviously, you're big into Palestine activism. You're a big activist here. You're organising this Congress. You also ran for the Austrian Parliament, if I am correct in that, and you ran on a pro-Gaza campaign. Just tell me a little bit about that campaign, how successful it was, and just when did you get involved into the pro-Palestine activism as well? Was it after your conversion to Islam? Was it before that? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Actually, I studied Oriental Studies and Islamic Sciences and law, and I'm still continuing on that right now. But 11 years ago, there was Ronnie Barkham, one of the speakers here also at the event. He is from Boycott From Within, from the BDS movement in Israel, kind of. And he was speaking here in Vienna. And after that, me and 5 others actually said, okay, let's start BDS in Austria. So we co-founded BDS here in Austria, the Boycott movement. And did a brilliant job, actually, because after 1 or 2 years, we already had our own city council resolution against us. that we cannot rent any public space. I mean, it's totally against the constitution, but we didn't try to fight it by now legally. But I think we will do this in the future. So this is how all this started. And when the genocide started in Gaza now, we said we want a possibility for every person who is voting for the Austrian elections, for the Austrian parliament, to sign for any party which is against the genocide. And since all of the parties in Austria were either silent or supported Israel in their genocide against Gaza, so we said, okay, then we have to do it ourselves. I mean, this is all what we always have been doing in the last years, that you have to do it yourself, otherwise nobody will do it. So that's why we formed this party, and luckily we got huge support in the Austrian community and the Muslim community also as well. To make this happen, because we needed like 2,000 signatures Austria-wide, and then we made it to be on 7 out of 9 counties on the ballot. So this was our huge goal, actually, to be on the ballot like all the parties, and then you have Gaza as the first party for Palestine, for Gaza, and that nobody in the future can say, oh, I didn't know about a genocide, because this is all what we are taught in school classes, all about, like, never again for everyone. And then when it happens, and everyone is silent, and we couldn't be silent, and that's why we formed this party. And at the end, it was quite successful. For this 1 or 2 months promoting it, we had like over 20,000 votes. Wow. Meaning for the Vienna City Council, when you put it in this ratio, we would have like 7-8 city council members. And we will keep on, maybe not in this platform, but we try to form new ways of organizing with other parties and other people who want to not only work for a free Palestine, but just for justice and ending wars worldwide. Yeah.
Fantastic. So it'll be good for our viewers to know, because there is a big push in the UK to apply pressure for Palestine, try and get independent candidates elected on a pro-Palestine ticket. And there's also street protest movements, all sorts of things. So to hear that this is also being replicated in Austria, in other parts of Europe, will be very encouraging, I'm sure. Let me just ask you about the situation in Austria for Muslims, for the pro-Palestine situation. Is there a toxic anti-Muslim atmosphere here? What's it like being a Muslim in Austria? Is the state cracking down on Muslim activism? Tell me what the situation's like.
I mean, I can't really tell, like, because I'm white bread, or what's the term for that? That so they don't see me as a Muslim, so I won't be targeted, just more because of my activism for Palestine. But in general, Austria is at its peak, I think, in anti-Muslim racism right now.
Oh, really?
It is a totally mess, really. It's horrible, actually, at times we're living in. And this was also one point of our 10 points in our program of the List Gaza campaign, to fight this anti-Muslim racism, which is established also in political, like in laws. And they formed, like, for example, an institution, like an office called, like, Documentary Archive for Political Islam. But they never term, of course, they don't say what is political Islam, of course, so they put in everything they want. So at the end, it's 95% is always Palestine activism just being targeted, and especially Muslims who do that to just intimidate them. So this was always a part of our campaign to give a voice for Muslims in Austria and to fight back, because I think people who grow up, and every Muslim is so as well, but anyway, people who grew up here from Turkey, from any other country or Arabic countries, should just live the same way like every other person in Austria. So I always try to motivate them and say, no, you're part of this Austrian community and you should step up for your right and speak up, and don't be afraid. You're living here. You have no second country to go back. You have to stand up here for your rights. And we have a constitution. We have to fight back so you can live a normal life like everyone else.
I don't know if you've seen this, but a final thing I want to ask you about is there's a trend, subhanAllah, it's like a miracle in many ways. Despite the genocide in Gaza, despite the horrors that the Palestinian people are enduring, it's actually sparked a wave of conversions to Islam in the Western world. And this is because people are seeing the suffering in Palestine. they are seeing the Palestinians remaining determined to resist and to stay on the land and to survive this, in a situation where many people would be like, why don't they just surrender? Why don't they give up? Why don't they just run away? And I think a lot of people are reaching the conclusion that it's Islam that's keeping them going. They know Allah is with them. They have Islam, and it's keeping them going. So although they're going through immense hardships, they're not going to surrender. They're not going to give up. Okay, and I think it's because of Islam, among other things. The Palestinians themselves are a powerful, strong people, and it's inspiring more people to pick up the Quran, to learn about Islam, and many are embracing it as well. Do you have a message to Austrians who are watching this, who perhaps have negative stereotypes about Muslims, who think badly about Palestinians, who have heard all the negative news headlines about them all being terrorists, extremists, and some kind of threat to our way of life? How would you speak to an Austrian learning about it?
For Austrians, actually, I would recommend them to go actually to Palestine, you know. We also try to organize trips to Palestine, because if you go there and you go to Hebron, Nablus, Jenin, or any places there, and you meet the Palestinian people there, because you can see their hospitality and so on. After coming back, you actually don't need any history book or anything in this way. So this was always my take on that, because other than that, it's just I don't know, intellectual thing to have this openness to actually to look into the history and not just believe old stereotypes or whatever. To just do your research, man. Do your research, and it's not so difficult. Like every child, like every student in Vienna now. We have never seen so many young people in Austria. We have never had students with 1,000 to 2,000 students protesting and organizing. This has never been before. Like this, all 11 years I'm active in the Palestine Solidarity in Austria. We've never seen such a wave of active people now. So if a 10-year-old boy can understand what's going on, why another 40-year-old man just can't get over his mindset and question his beliefs. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for speaking to me. Is there anything else you want to say before we end up?
Oh, anything else you would like to address?
I think we've covered a lot of ground, so I always like to ask my guests if there's something they wish to say specifically. Sometimes I like to give you the opportunity to say what you have to say, not just me bombard you with questions, but we have covered a lot of ground. So yeah, thank you very much for speaking to me. I'm glad I met you. I always like to meet activists and converts across Europe so that we can coordinate, so that we can help one another. And if you ever happen to be visiting London anytime soon, you have a friend who's willing to help you.
Just maybe add for people who want to learn about Islam in Austria, because there's a very hostile environment now, of course, and a lot of propaganda against Muslims and Islam. And I think this is actually one of the key factors why this genocide is even possible. Because what I've witnessed in my young age was since 9/11, this whole Western agenda was only to smear Muslims, and this is also, I see it as a continuation of the anti-Semitism, of the old anti-Semitism in Austria and in Germany and Europe probably as well, to continue this anti-Semitism. And this was just handed over to Muslims now. So it's the same coin, it's just the other side of the coin. It's also with this Orientalism of the dark man coming with beards and taking your wives and everything, all this nonsense. And it's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. And like Joseph Massad is saying that Jews became only white because of the Holocaust. So the Holocaust made Jews white. This was the only, and I hope that we don't go in this direction that we end up with another Holocaust. That's why we have to speak up. And for Austrians to learn about Islam, man, just talk to Muslims. Go to any mosque in Vienna, learn about it yourself, read the Quran. And again, the same thing, do your research. Ignorance is a choice. That's all what I can say. Ignorance is a choice today. You cannot excuse yourself for anything. Do your research and go to the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very strong message to end on. So thank you very much. Let me shake your hand one more time, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure. And like I say, you now know that there is a growing movement. I think Zionism is under pressure on all fronts. People have seen what is essentially the most well-documented genocide in all of human history. And now the tables are slowly beginning to turn. But it's an uphill battle. We still have to do what we can. And as you can see from the activists here in Austria, of all places, they're making moves. So let's continue to push and help the Palestinians in any way we can. But for now, it's Assalamu alaikum. And do check out the rest of our coverage from the historic anti-Zionism Congress here on 5 Pillars over the next few days, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Ma salama for now.